Welcome back to our discussion, How Government Contracting Policies Impact National Security, sponsored by George Mason University, here on Federal News Radio, part of the Federal News Network. I'm Tom Temin. My guest today is Dr. Jerry McGinn, Executive Director of the Center for Government Contracting, School of Business at George Mason University. And Jerry, you're not simply an academic here. You have some history in this acquisition area, in the government, out of the government. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, yeah, that's right, Tom. I really can't keep a job. I've been on all different sides of the broad government contracting community. I was an Army officer way back when, early in my career. Then I got too much education at Georgetown and was in the think tank world. And then I've been, since then, in and out of industry and government in various roles, and I've been at George Mason now for about a year. And it's an honor to be able to working, because it's important to have the permeability across the broad government contracting community, because I think government works better when they understand industry, and likewise industry works better when they understand the government.
And before the break, we were talking about some massive mergers, United Technologies and Raytheon, and the history of those. And we were also talking about the inculcation of small and non-traditional contractors via OTA and other innovative so-called contracting mechanisms. But then there's that middle tier of middle companies that sometimes get the big ones, sometimes get the small contracts. And that's always a concern, because that's where really most of the M&A activity takes place, I think, from a functional level. What's your sense of how they're doing and what government can do in the contracting sense and the acquisition sense to make sure that that level survives?
That is a challenge in the broad aerospace and defense industry, is strengthening the middle tier. And I think you'll find a lot of competition when you break it down in the services area, because there are much lower barriers to entry. So you'll see companies that grow and get big pretty quickly. You got the Peritons that have come up, and you've got KeyW, which was bought by Jacobs, and these kind of companies. So you have growth and development in the middle tier there. It's harder in the platform companies, platform arena, because what happens is they get bigger and they get bought. Like Orbital ATK was bought by Northrop Grumman recently. So finding, so right now the traditional perception of the industry is you have sort of a dumbbell or a barbell kind of, where you've got the big companies, the primes, and then you have a lot of smalls, and it's harder to get the middle tier built. But it's important. And the way the government can help is by incentivizing, by having more opportunities in Department of Defense and other agencies. When they have more contracts, then you have more reasons for companies to pursue, and then they can get bigger and more prime opportunities and the like. So the government can incentivize by having more opportunities of different scales, so and not necessarily set-asides for small, so that you can grow companies in that middle tier. Because you want to have a vibrant spectrum of companies serving your government customers.
And there's that other dynamic that a lot of these companies are launched with the purposes of reaching size that they will be acquired.
Yes,
and it may be the same people doing it over and over in some cases.
Yes, you do. The rinse and repeat cycle is one of my favorites.
Rinse and repeat,
that.
Well, that's what keeps the golf courses filled and the country clubs going.
Indeed.
And I guess my other question is, earlier we spoke about the coursework that you do that's in the FAR and the highly regulated areas, the DFAR, that form the backdrop of all this. But it seems to me that to make the well-rounded acquisition contracting person, they really do have to understand the business dynamics, have to be able to understand a balance sheet and so on.
So we sort of take the inverse to the approach, in the sense that there are places like Defense Acquisition University and other kind of places that do detailed training on the FAR, which is tremendous. But what you find is business schools generally just teach business, which is, there aren't many business cases or courses that are focused on the particular challenges of the government contracting industry. And so that's what we're trying to do at Mason. We're relaunching our executive MBA program to meet that need, to really build courses that have a flavor of government contracting or defense, that really can give the executives or transitioning officers coming into the industry, give them the business basic principles, but how they apply in the companies that serve the government customer. So that's what Mason is working to do in our educational offerings.
Yeah, and I was going to say that it actually is an exciting area, and it takes a lot of brain power to do this well. How do you, given the competition for business talent and graduate business talent that there is from industry, How do you convince people that, you know what, acquisition on behalf of the government is tremendously subtle, it's exciting, it's difficult, it's challenging, and it's really a great career? I mean, how do you get that across? I mean,
you get that through. I mean, the majority of our students are already working, either working in the industry or working in government. So they're uniformed officers, or they're they're reserve officers, or reserved soldiers, or sailors, or they're working for a company. So they're trying to move up in their career. So I mean, so I think they're already the ecosystem is already so large. And a lot of it's based here in the DC metro area, so that Mason is just filling that need. So.
Now, how national is it really, though?
Well, the industry is, it is quite national. I mean, you've got, when you go to California, it's the heart of the aerospace industry, the origins of the aerospace industry, and there's still tremendous there. There's tremendous amounts in Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Massachusetts, you name it. It spans the overall United States. But there is a big kind of center of mass. A number of the companies are headquartered here in the DC metro area, or have moved their headquarters here, and so this is one of the major nodes for the overall.
And one of the hallmarks of the U.S. procurement system is that fundamentally it's honest. There's exceptions that happen from time to time, but it's unlike so many countries. And is that part of the training and development work that you do, is to make sure that the ethical side
Well, absolutely.
maintains robustness?
Ethics is a critical part of business, and likewise in business that impacts the public sector, it is even heightened in sense of the strict regulatory requirements in that area. Yes, indeed.
All right, good place to take a break. My guest today is Dr. Jerry McGinn. He is the Executive Director of the Center for Government Contracting in the School of Business at George Mason University. I'm Tom Temin. Our discussion is how government contracting policies impact national security, sponsored by George Mason University on Federal News Radio, part of the Federal News Network.